Okay, so yes, good morning, students. Today we will start with a new chapter, class 8th, that is combustion and flames. So now we will move on ahead. So before starting the chapter, we will see some pictures, right? So I will move on to our next slide. Okay, so now you have to observe these pictures for 5 seconds and then I will be asking you questions based on these pictures, right? Okay, till the time I will adjust my texting uh, board. Till the time you can observe. Okay, yes, so now your 5 seconds are over. So now I will be asking you, yes, what did you observe in these two pictures? Yes, very good. In the first picture, you can see there is a flame. Yes, there is a flame and the candle is burning. Candle is burning. The candle is made of wax. Yes, very good. And then this is the coal, and here the coal is burning, right? Okay. So do you see any difference in both of them while they are burning? Any difference? Okay, yes, there is a difference. And what is that difference? That is, like here the candle is burning with a flame. You can see a flame, like the flame is moving upwards. But in the case of coal, we cannot see those flames, right? It's just we can feel the heat because of the heat coming out when it burns, but we cannot see the flame in coals. Yes, you observed it very rightly. Now we will move on ahead. So now first, as you saw that in these pictures, the candle was burning. It was producing flame and the coal was burning and it was producing some heat or some energy. So whenever a thing is burning, so what will this thing or what will this process be called according to you? Yes, any particular guess from your like from my observations or from your observations from this picture? Yes, it will be called as combustion. So today we will study about combustion, the process combustion. So now let's see what is combustion in more details or the proper definition of combustion, right? So yes, combustion is a chemical process. So the first point is, well, the first main important point about combustion is, it is which type of process? It is a, it is a chemical process. Yes, it is a like in these definitions that we are about to read, there are some key points that you have to keep in mind. So first key point about combustion is that it is a chemical process, right? In which substance react with oxygen. So when we burn a substance, like in the first pictures we saw, the candle was burning in the presence of oxygen, right? So the substances were reacting with oxygen. So here oxygen is involved, right? So yes, oxygen is the second factor. Oxygen to give off heat, and then there is heat. Like in case of coal, we saw that when we burned the coal, there was some heat produced. Also, in case of candles, when we are burning candles, we can after some time we can see that there is some heat produced, right? So yes, there is heat is produced. So this is the third factor. So then this whole process is called as combustion. So now we will speak up the whole definition of combustion. Combustion is a chemical process in which substance they react with oxygen to give off heat, right? And then this process is known as combustion. So the substance, right? The substance that undergoes combustion is said to be combustible, or it is also called as a fuel. Why we call it as a fuel? Because fuel they easily catch fire, and in fuel what all things come in fuel? Yes, if we talk about fuel, what all things come in fuel? Like there is coal that we saw in the earlier picture, then there is petrol, and then there is diesel, and then there is kerosene. So these are the different things that comes under the fuel. that can easily burn. So what are the substance which easily burn called as? Those are the combustible substances, right? Okay, so now we will move on ahead and see some more details about this chemical process combustion. Okay, the fuel may be solid, the fuel may be liquid, or it may be gas. It can be anything. Here we discussed like the coal. Coal was solid, right? Coal was solid. Petroleum is liquid, diesel is liquid, and kerosene is also a liquid. What about gas? Which fuel is in gas form? Like the LPG that we use at our home. LPG or the CNGs we use in the cars, that fuels are in the form of gases. So fuel can, what we learned from these pictures, like fuel can be of three types. And what are these three types? They can be solid, like for example coal. They can be liquid, like petroleum, and then they can be in the gaseous form, that is the LPGs or the CNGs. So now are you clear with the concept of combustion and the fuel or the combustible substances? Yes, okay. So now we will move on ahead and see some more details about the combustion. So now before moving on ahead, there is one curiosity question that we solved after some time, right? So yes, our first question is like, okay, so this Bujo character that is in your book, he has a question like we were told that food is a fuel for our body. How does this fuel work for us? Wow. So as you see that we put fuel in the cars in the form of petrol, diesel. We put fuels in our cylinders, cooking cylinders like LPG and CNG. In the same way, the human body is also taking food as a form of a fuel. So how does this fuel works for us? So now you have to find out the answers, and after finding out the answers, you have to write your answers in the chat box. I will be waiting for your answers, right? Right now, I will not give this answer because it will be in a greater detail. So you have to write it on chat box. What will be the answer for this? I will give you 5 seconds. You can note down the question. Then we will move on ahead. Okay, so now we will move on ahead, and there is another question for you. So it is a fill in the blank type of question. A chemical process in which a substance react with dash to give off dash is called combustion. So you have to fill both the dashes till that time. Okay, so now I'll give you 5 seconds. You have to write your answers in the comment box, and then we will move on forward to our next topic for today. Okay, yes, okay. So yes, I can see the right responses that a chemical process in which a substance react with oxygen to give off heat is called as combustion. Yes, very good. Okay, so now we will move on ahead and move on to our next topic. Okay, so now we will move on to our next topic, but before that, we have an activity. So now you all have to, I will show you some objects and you have to identify whether those objects will burn, like if those objects will burn immediately or it will take some time, right? So you have to find it out. I will show you the objects one by one. This first object is a comb and it is made up of plastic. So will it like burn easily or not? You can write your answers in the comment box. Yes, it will burn very easily because it is combustible, right? Okay, so now if this, yes, this is a mask. We all have used it a lot during this time. So will it burn easily or not? Yes, it will burn very easily because it is made up of cloth and cloth catches fire very easily. So yes, this is also a combustible substance. Okay, so what about this bottle? This bottle is made up of metal. So will it burn easily or not? Yes, it will not burn easily. Yes, very good. So if it is not burning easily, then under which category will it come? Okay, it's like the things that burned very easily were the combustible substances, right? Like this mask. But if we talk about this bottle, it is not burning easily. Then under which category will it come? Okay, so we will see more about it ahead, right? So now we will first move on to our next slide. In this picture also you can see that wood, it burns easily. So it is combustible. Whereas this glass, it takes time to burn. So it is not combustible as that of wood, right? So now we will move on ahead and we will see the proper definition of combustible substances, right? So what are the combustible substances? A combustible substance that burns in air and produces heat and light. So what it is producing, when it heats, it produces heat and light. Upon burning, it's called as a combustible substance. And what are the examples of these combustible substances? Diesel, petrol, kerosene, wood. It can be cloth also that we just discussed. It can be plastic also. So these are the different combustible substances. So what are the properties of combustible substances? Like they burn very easily, and when they burn, they produce heat and they produce light. So this was all about the combustible substances. Now we will move on ahead and see some more details. Okay, so now I really asked you earlier, so under which category will this bottle come? As it is made up of metal and it is not burning easily. So now we will see under which category will it come, right? So yes, what topic can you see on your screen now? Non-combustible substances. So this bottle will come under non-combustible substances. Why? Because it is not burning easily. So what are non-combustible substances? Yes, you have to read out the definition, or what are the keywords of this definition. You can write in the chat box. Substances that don't burn in the presence of air are called as non-combustible substances. Like there's glass, there's stone, and some metal objects too that don't burn very easily in the presence of air. So now are you clear with the definitions of combustible substances and non-combustible substances? Yes? Okay. I can see your responses. Okay, so you are clear. So now we will move on ahead. Okay, so now coming to our next slide, which is a curiosity question again. So now you have to look around yourself, okay, and see the different objects and mention some examples of combustible and non-combustible substances. You can either type it on the chat box, or you can also show it on the screen if possible, right? Okay, I will give you 10 seconds for it, for this activity, and then we will move on forward. Till the time, you can bring all the things that are around you which are combustible and which are non-combustible. Okay. Okay, so now we will move on ahead, and there is again a question in the form of table. So what you have to do is, there are certain materials given here at the left end of the table, and you have to what you have to do is, you have to identify whether these substances are combustible or non-combustible. Just stick on it on the column, whether it is combustible or non-combustible. Okay, so wood is combustible, yes. Paper, it is also combustible. Iron nails, they are non-combustible because they are metallic things are usually non-combustible, but there are always some exceptions. We will, when we will move on ahead, we will study about this. So kerosene oil, is it combustible or non-combustible? It is combustible, yes. The stone piece, they are non-combustible. Straw will be combustible. Charcoal, like the coal, will be combustible. Matchsticks, highly combustible because we use it for burning only. And what about glass? Glass is non-combustible. So see how many things around us are mostly combustible. Yes. So that's why our adult says that we should always be aware and we should never play with fire, right? So this is the reason, because anything can catch fire around us. So this was all about this topic. So now we will move on ahead to our next topic for today. So now, as you all know that whenever there is a friction, for friction to happen, like there is a condition that is required, like the two surface, like if friction is needed between these two things, then these two surfaces, there are two surfaces required, then only there will be a friction, right? So like the for friction there was a condition, like two surfaces are needed, right? So what are the conditions needed for combustion to happen? Like for fire to happen or for combustion to happen? Any ideas from your side? Okay. If no, then we will discuss. Okay. I will give you 5 seconds. You can write your answers in the chat box, or you can also speak till the time. If you are not able to answer, then we will discuss. Okay. Okay, so now we will move on ahead and we will see some of the conditions required for combustion. So the condition under which combustion takes place is, what are the conditions under which the combustion is taking place? First condition is the presence of combustible substances, right? The presence of combustible substances. And what are these combustible substances? The substances that can burn easily. That's why it is said that whenever you are near fire, you should never take these petrols and kerosene near the fire because they catch fire very easily. That's why. So one of the condition required for combustion is presence of combustible substances. Now, second condition is presence of supporters or combustion oxygen. If there is more oxygen present, there will be more combustion, right? That's why we are using a fire extinguisher, because fire extinguisher is having carbon dioxide in it, which helps to reduce the process of combustion, or it eliminates the process of combustion, right? So this is one of the main reasons and the conditions required for combustion. Now cut off the oxygen, right? Oxygen will be reduced. The second condition was oxygen reduction. Now third condition is attainment of ignition temperature. If this will happen, then the combustion will stop. So the combustion will happen, right? So yes. So what are the different conditions required for combustion? The presence of, first is the presence of combustible substances. Second is the presence of supporters of combustion like oxygen, right? And the third is attainment of ignition temperature. If anything attains the ignition temperature, that means it will start to burn or it will catch fire. So these are the three main conditions required for combustion, right? So you have to remember. So now there comes again a curiosity question from Bujo, and that is, if we have read that sun produces its own heat and light, right? So is it also some kind of combustion? Yeah. Now this is some question to think about, right? So for this question, you have to find your answers from the internet, and then you have to write in the chat box. And if you still don't get it, then I will answer. You can ask me and I will clear your doubts, right? So now we will move on ahead to our next question. So list some conditions under which combustion can take place. So for this, I will give you 5 seconds to write your answers and then we will discuss. Okay. So what were the conditions? Yes, I can see. Yes. So the first condition was the presence of combustible substances should be there, right? Second was like the like there was the more presence of oxygen, like the combustible substances present in more quantity near the combustion process is happening. And third was the reaching of the ignition temperature of a substance. If it reaches the ignition temperature, it will combust very easily. Yes, you all are right. So this was all about combustion and what are the different factors that help in the process of combustion. So now coming on to the recapitulation part. So what all things we studied today? We studied about combustion, and we studied about the different combustible, and we studied about different combustible and sorry combustible and non-combustible substances, right? And the condition required and the different conditions that are required for combustion. So now we will see some homework. So these are the 3 questions that you have to solve in your notebooks, and then there is the activity that you have to perform. And for this activity, you have to perform it in the supervision of an adult. Otherwise, don't perform it, right? First, what you have to do is you have to take a piece of paper and a thin wooden stick and burn both of them with a matchstick. While starting to light fire to both of them, observe and count how much time each takes to catch fire and come up with the results in the class, right? So this is a small activity you have to, okay, so now you have to note it that you have to perform it under the supervision of an adult, right? And then you have to write your observations in your notebooks. So this was all for today. Thank you, and we will meet in our next class and we will continue this chapter. Okay, bye.